medium of anime has had some of the most bizarre premises and titles you've ever heard compared to Western shows. Have you seen the bloated titles of some of the anime out there? After being rejected, I shaved and took in a high school runaway. Who the hell is still watching this? Who the fuck puts a name like that to a series? There are so many series that had come out with a premise of cute girls doing whatever thing that comes out of your mind. Cute girls camping, cute girls horse racing, cute girls going to Antarctica, boats that are cute girls. There's even a show about cute girls in a zombie apocalypse. There are so many moe shows that came out that even if you enjoy the show, even if you found something enjoyable, nowadays it's hard to know when a show sticks with you because we move on to the next thing so fast. But there's a show that always comes back to my mind, so much that I even made a video about it when I first started making videos, but put it in private because it was so freaking cringe. So I decided to make this video as a remake of that video because this show I'm about to talk about deserves better. A show so unique that managed to unite weeps and history buffs into one. A show with a seemingly absurd premise but packed with the craziest action stunts. A show that seemingly everyone around me barely talks about. So I tried seeing it if it was good as I remember it to be. And upon my second viewing, I came to the realization that it still freaking slaps. Girls in Panzer revolves around the world of Senshado, a competitive sport like airsoft where Second World War tanks are used for competition between high schools, an activity practiced exclusively by women and girls alike and viewed as an art form like martial arts or tea ceremony, so basically an extracurricular activity. Damn, I wished I had this when I was at school. Suddenly, we're involved in a world where different schools based on countries that fought in the Second World War are blasting the hell out of each other in matches that look something out of War Thunder. We have the British, the Americans, Russians, Germans, Italians, and many more countries competing to become the ultimate tournament champion. So this show is basically an sports anime. Now I know what you're thinking. Boo-hoo, bro, this is just another girls doing cute things, boo-hoo. Yes. But actually no. Yes, we can call this another cute girls doing cute things anime with your usual element of slice of life, but the appeal is gazillion times different from your standard moe show. So no, I don't like this because of the girls only. I like it because of the tanks.
Stop the cap. Stop the cap right now!
If there is something that the moe slice of life genre should not be compatible with on paper, it would be military themes. Traditionally, anything related to the military tends to be more associated with guys. Warfare, biggest guns, tanks, explosions, military tactics. It's not something you usually associate feminine young high school girls with the military. Or is it? Vsauce music. Girls in Panzer not only manages to pull this concept off, but it completely subverts this stereotype. The actual story follows Miho Nishizumi, a transfer student at Oarai Girls Academy as she leads her Senshado team to become champions. Miho comes from a family with a long history with Senshado, with its own particular style of combat. Unfortunately for her, as the second in command of her previous high school Senshado team, she committed a terrible offense in the eyes of the family. Disowned by her mother, Miho gets transferred to Oarai Girls Academy, a school seemingly without a Senshado team. Sad to say for her, she gets once again pulled back into the sport when the school student council made her decide to join the reopened Senshado team to help out and win the upcoming tournament, because if not, the school will be shut down. Aside from Miho, we got the main supporting characters. Hana as the gunner, Saori as the radio operator, Yukari, aka best girl, as the loader, and Mako as the driver. One of the things that these shows really excels at are the character designs. But to be fair here, I was taken aback at first seeing the cover of the anime because it looked so ooh. But upon looking past that on my first viewing, I realized that this series has a very colorful cast of characters with a very defined personality. Every single tank crew has something that makes them distinguishable from the other teams, from the racing team, the student council, the volleyball club, to my personal favorite, the history club. Seeing how the girls look, act, and what they wear, it's obvious intention to make the characters as girly as possible. Nonetheless, it's freaking brilliant how Girls in Panzer manages to combine femininity with militarism, and the best example of this is the uniforms the girls wear during the matches. We have the top uniform designed similarly like the ones used during the Second World War, while the bottom they use a miniskirt even during Siberian winter because, well, anime. Despite of everything I previously said, the anime doesn't try to go in depth into the character's psyche, any type of profound character development. Don't expect some Requiem for a Dream with high school girls, guys. But what Girls and Panzer lacks on deep characterization, it compensates it with the world building, tank battles, and historical references. Having said that, its world building has an internal logic which largely depends on how the characters react to the world in which they live in. Just look at the first episode. Everything looks like your average high school slice of life anime before slowly introducing you into Senshadow and discover that they live in a big-ass aircraft carrier and that every single student somehow has a PhD in engineering. Just look at that, they're piloting a multi-million-dollar military cargo plane.
Hey yo, what the fuck?
Forgot to mention that nobody dies in this series even though they're using live ammunition because they're using a special material inside the tanks that stops everything. It's anime. Don't think about it. But this show treats these absurdities as something mundane and brings you along the journey, and to top it all off, Girls and Panzer not only has this 12-episode series, but also has a 2-hour full-length movie, and now they've just released 4 out of 6 series of films adding more schools, characters, and tanks. Remember when I said that this series is a sports anime? The anime goes to great lengths to stray Senshadow from violence and war and presenting it more as a sport with official rules and friendly competition. And as a sports anime, it has incorporated many tropes you typically find in this type of shows. In every match, Oarai is presented as the underdog of the story. They first start as your rookie team that doesn't even know about the concept of camouflage.
What have you done, you maniacs?
To become a well-cohesive team capable to fight against all odds. In every match, Oarai is always encountered by an overwhelming powerful team but coming out on top at the end thanks to Miko's capability as a commander using creative tactics. But there are no hard feelings once the battle is over, as both Oarai and its rivals have a sense of sportsmanship. Of course, like any sports anime, we need some bloated high stakes to make it more interesting. The entire existence of Oarai Girls Academy depends on whether they win a high school tournament. This extends to other little subplots like Hana's mother disowning her for choosing Senshadow over dedicating her time to flower arrangement, which I find it stupid since who doesn't want to get into a John Wick gunfu style fight with tanks? But what Girls and Panzer really shines through are the historical references and the action stunts. Regarding the historical references, these are often presented in a very humorous way that fits with the type of vibe the show is trying to give. All the schools in Girls and Panzer are actually located in Japan, but each of them is themed after a country which is shown in their philosophy, lifestyle, and combat tactics. And what a better way to show some of those things with stereotypes, because oh boy, there's a lot of them. One example we can mention is Pravda, the Russian school based on the Soviet Union whose name is also a reference to the official newspaper of the Communist Party. This school also doesn't have an elected student council. Instead, it's run by their Senshadow commander Katyusha, who's basically a tsundere lolly version of Joseph Stalin.
When I, with my friend, take over, you go to Gulag.
Additionally, their tactics are based on Red Army doctrine, like double envelopments and using winter for their own advantage. And not only that, they have the catchiest marching song of the whole series. This anime always find brilliant ways to make fun at every country regardless the amount of screen time they get. The Australian team appears for only 30 seconds and we see that the commander is a freaking koala and their vice commander is named Wallaby. Good day, mate. Wanna go to Macca's? Sorry to all the Aussies out there for having to listen to this. The British are polite and drink tea all the time. The Americans are filthy rich and their doctrine can be summed up with the more guns the better, baby! Not even the French get saved from getting a stereotype. Starting revolutions and protesting is almost a national sport. These people are charging and about to whack someone with a freaking baguette. And you might think, bruh, Jason, this is kinda racist. Hey, it's not racism if you make fun of everyone, right? And I mean everyone, because even the Japanese know how to make fun of themselves. The Japanese team, Chihatan Academy, are maniacally obsessed over charging the enemy no matter how stupid it may be. How? Hold on, bro. How? And historical references don't end there. Almost the entire soundtrack of Girls and Panzer is military music inspired from classic war movies from the 60s like The Great Escape, The Longest Day, or The Bridge on the River Kwai. Every single school has military marches of the countries they're themed after. The Germans have Panzerlied, the Italians Funiculi Funicula, the Finnish have Saki Jarvan Polka, and I have to admit that I often listen to Girls and Panzer soundtrack and sometimes I get too much into it. Auf der Heide blüht ein kleines Blümelein, bum bum bum, und das heißt bum bum bum. Needless to say, the tanks and tactics each school uses are based on their respective countries too. The Germans base their tactics on the Blitzkrieg, the Brits have the marching fire, the Americans have firepower, and the Italians, well, they're just there.
Any powers you want to tell us about? Any,
No, I don't have one. I just saw the ad.
You're in.
But what truly makes this series is the action, and even though you might not be knowledgeable in tank warfare, it's very entertaining. Mind you, this is anime, so the producers took real-life physics and said, nah, screw that shit, we're gonna make the tanks go faster than a Ford GT, make impossible jumps, have nitro speed, and make them drift. Like, what the fuck? There's no way a tank can drift. Wait, what? Aside from that, I want to give my 2 cents on the action sequences because they are so good from the storytelling perspective. The way these action sequences tells the story is using minimal dialogue as possible and allowing the action to speak for itself. It is well known around the community how overly long exposition can be during action scenes in some anime where characters must explain every single bloody thing that happens on screen. Don't get me wrong, I love Blue Lock, I mean it, but sometimes it gets on my nerves how they must explain everything through internal monologue instead of conveying some emotions through eye movement or body language. Let's take a look at this scene. This is the final duel of the movie, 2v1 between the Nishizumi sisters and Alice, the leader of the opposing team. Both sisters are able to communicate with each other without saying much by using hand signals, but mind you, putting more dialogue than necessary would have ruined the scene. The lack of dialogue keeps us on the edge of our seat since we're oblivious on what they're about to do and thus demanding our full attention. This small non-verbal interaction tells us more than entire 3-minute internal monologue or any kind of exposition could. This anime trusts its viewers and doesn't feel the need to spoon-feed information constantly to understand what's happening. I cannot think of other modern anime right now that understands the benefit of keeping the dialogue and exposition down. The music, face expressions, the action itself conveys the mood and the tension to keep us engaged in the moment. Girls and Panzer is a series where 2 seemingly incompatible concepts manage to make something unique and set itself apart from other shows of the same genre. A series that doesn't take itself very seriously, whose world building keeps expanding for every installment that comes out, whether are movies, OVAs, to even manga spin-offs, adding more countries, more tanks, funny stereotypes, and history references that if you're a history nerd as me, you'll find this anime even funnier. Who would have thought that a series about high school girls in short skirts fighting in tank battles would be the peak of military-themed anime?
Can he drive?
Can he drive? You know what DK stands for?
Donkey Kong?
Drift King.
Drift. What do you mean, drift?
Wait, what?